Let's go back, way back, to the mid-1970s. You remember the time, bell-bottoms, gas shortages, disco on the radio, and cars that were starting to change fast. It was the end of the muscle car era, and America's streets were going quiet. Then came a new Mustang, the Mustang II. Now, if you're someone who remembers the glory days of Detroit horsepower, Boss 302s, 428 Cobra jets, or Mach 1s, you probably raised an eyebrow when this little Pinto-based pony showed up. Some people said it wasn't a real Mustang. Others said Ford had no choice. Today, we're going to slow things down and take a walk down memory lane to understand why the Mustang II still gets people talking nearly 50 years later. For better or worse. Let's not sugarcoat it. The early 70s were a rough time for car lovers. If you grew up in the 60s, you had it made. Big V8s, loud pipes, burnouts at every stoplight. You didn't just drive a car back then, you lived it. But everything changed when the oil crisis hit in '73. Suddenly, people weren't looking at horsepower. They were checking miles per gallon. Add in new emissions rules and sky-high insurance costs, and boom, the muscle car scene collapsed almost overnight. Ford had a big decision to make. The Mustang, once the king of the street, was no longer practical. People couldn't afford to gas up a 428 Cobra jet just to get to work. So in 1974, they rolled out something totally different. The Mustang II. It was smaller, lighter, built on the Pinto platform. Yes, that Pinto. But it was efficient, affordable, and easier to insure. It wasn't the Mustang we remembered, but maybe it was the one people needed at the time. And believe it or not, folks bought it, in droves. Now here's the thing. Ford knew they were taking a risk, so they dressed the Mustang II up real nice. From a distance, it looked sharp. There was a Mach 1 package, a fastback design, rally stripes, you know, all the bells and whistles that made people say, well hey, maybe this isn't so bad. One guy who bought a '75 Mustang II fresh out of high school remembers that feeling well. He'd always dreamed of a Mustang, couldn't afford the gas or insurance on a '69 428, but this new one? It looked cool enough. It even had a V8 option, so he figured, how bad could it be? He slapped on some Krager wheels, got a decent exhaust tone, and for a little while, he believed in the dream. But deep down, something didn't sit right. It looked like a Mustang, sure, but it didn't feel like one, not in the way the old cars did. It was like dressing up a cat in a lion costume. Fun to look at, but not quite the real thing. Let's talk about what really matters to us car folk. What happens when you hit the gas? The Mustang II had a 302 V8 option, and that sounds good on paper. But the reality? It was neutered by emissions equipment and fuel-saving engineering. It made about 140 horsepower. That's less than a lot of four-cylinder cars make today. So yeah, it rumbled a little, especially if you upgraded the exhaust. But when you stomped the gas, it didn't move like a Mustang should. It was sluggish, lazy. You'd hear the engine, but the speed just never showed up. And don't even try to take corners fast. The suspension was soft, European-inspired, they said, more like grandma's recliner on wheels. Body roll was a given. The steering was vague, and if you pushed it too hard, the car felt like it wanted to tip over and take you with it. The Mustang II will always be a little controversial. Some folks will never forgive it for not being a true muscle car. But if you were around back then, you understand. Gas prices were insane. Insurance was brutal, and something had to give. Ford made a bet, and it worked. The Mustang lived to fight another day, and eventually, we got Mustangs with real muscle again. But in 1974? The Mustang II was what we had. And looking back, maybe it wasn't the hero we wanted, but it was the one that got us through.